first guest this month, which is centered around voting, we have Stone Gossard. Stone is a guitarist in Pearl Jam, but on top of all of that, he's a dedicated climate and environmental activist. And we're here today to talk about the importance of voting for our climate and what he has done to help Pearl Jam be as thoughtful as possible when touring in regards to the environment. Thank you so much for being with us today, Stone.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting. It's great to be doing something with you, Olivia.
Yes.
So we wanted to start off and ask you about what voting means to you, and why do you think voting is so important?
I'm not the best voter. I've definitely missed some elections. As a kid, I don't think I took it that seriously, and I think I was probably a little cynical about it. And as I've grown older, and I say a lot, that's because I like to do that. As I've grown older, it's become more obvious to me that those singular acts that everybody can do, something as democratic and as important and as fundamental as the connection to from one vote to one person, and what a big important revolution that was for the way the world thinks about people's how people connect with each other, how they interact with each other as a society and as a country. I think it's the single most important thing we can kind of do is participate, and that's the simplest way to do it. That's it gives you the choice of two polarities, and we as a country swing back and forth between those polarities, and it's the best system we got. It's a two-party system, and it's better than a one. It's better than a monarchy. We figured that out. So this particular presidential election, I think, is one that we should just be very animated, connected, aligning ourselves, getting involved, and being excited about being in a democracy as opposed to a monarchy.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember the first election you voted in, or what kind of election it was, how the day or how that experience was for you?
I can't remember when the first time I voted. I'm going to say it was probably a vote for Michael Dukakis. That's probably. And I voted in presidential elections. I missed a lot of local elections and regional elections, but I'm getting better. And mail-in ballots have been helpful for me. So I'll definitely vote in the general election every time.
And you mentioned that voting took on like a deeper meaning later on, and as a kid you might not have taken it as seriously, but why do you think that is? Like, what happened, what experience made you think of voting in a different light?
I just think that there's a lot of activity that involves our government and the nature of empire and how we interact with economy, how we interact with the environment, how we interact as a species with each other. And those things have impact. We can look at this administration and think, well, it's a little bit worse if it's this guy, or a little bit better if it's this guy or a girl. And you can see that leadership is so important, and bipartisanship has to be part of the equation. An understanding of the other side, an understanding that there's always going to be a polarity, and that we need to listen to each other and absorb what the other side is saying, and but also be animated by the things that are compelling to you, and be inspired by what inspires you, and trust that you're playing a role by elevating whatever issue or thing of importance that you feel compelled by. So I'm more excited about it. I feel like it's important because it makes a difference. And I think in this election, we can feel all the revolutions that are going on in how people think about business, how people think about our history, and the issue of race, and the issue of slavery, big fundamental important psychological issues that have been, are embedded in our psychologies because of our history in this country. So there's a lot to be interested in, and there's a lot to work through, and we need everybody to participate and be part of that conversation to be a healthier country. And I think we could be.
Mm-hmm. So we just finished, August, we focused on our environment, and when we're coming into voting, there's just so much intersectionality. And like I said earlier, voting for our climate is so important. And you've been such a leader when it comes to the changes that Pearl Jam has made around conserving the environment. Could you talk a little bit about what these are and how you went about bringing these ideas to the band, and why you felt it was so important as a band member to take on this role?
I think first and foremost, I was interested in it. I was compelled by it. I thought it was I felt interested and compelled by it. So as I learned more about it, I learned sort of how a lot of different people are taking action, or and particularly collective action is what I'm most interested in terms of how we as a band could use our platform to express some form of self-regulation in regards to the environment, or making efforts that are impactful, and that if other businesses would follow suit and play along, or even better sort of benefit from, that we could make an impact. So the main thing that I've been focused on the last 10 years with Pearl Jam is just acknowledging our carbon footprint, stating for the record what it is when we tour, and then doing my best to find avenues that mitigate that carbon at a later date. A lot of what we've worked on, and a lot of things we've done is reforestation projects, or protecting ecosystems that were endangered. It's been a challenge, and I think it's a very imperfect methodology of accounting for your carbon. There's not enough forest for everybody to plant trees to even, to make the difference that we need to make. So it's going to take everything. It's going to take technology. It's going to take legislation. It's going to take, big scale things that are difficult to do. But a very simple thing that businesses can do is just start addressing looking at their carbon, figuring out what it is, and looking at methods that they feel like might be effective in terms of mitigating that carbon, and or bringing online clean energy. So, investment in clean energy that we know is going to take the place of existing, carbon producing industries. So there's a billion ways that people can think about that, and we should be thinking about it in a billion ways. But I think that the first step is just sort of the acknowledgement of what it is, and an accounting for it. And I think that that's sort of a step that every business could take, and then consumers can start identifying which companies are doing the best job, and they can start supporting those companies. Organizations can start benefiting from it. I think we're moving towards a clean energy economy no matter what, and it's just how do we get there, and what's the best way for America to move in that direction. And some of it's going to be investment, some of it's going to be entrepreneurship, and money needs to move that direction, but a lot of it's going to be individuals too, making choices about putting solar on their house, or recycling, or looking about rainwater management, farming practices, soil management, carbon storage from all sorts of different things, methane, there's so many different avenues that people can be interested in kind of pursue in terms of seeing how it all kind of fits together. So that's what we've tried to do, basically.
And you guys have been a band for 30 years now. You've cared deeply about these crucial environmental changes that you just mentioned. Looking at the present day, do you feel hopeful about the direction that climate justice organizations and activists are taking to improve the living conditions for our planet? And do you see improvement in terms of the solutions to these problems that may have also been around 30 years ago?
I'm an optimist in general, so I think I tend to stay that way, and I tend to think even when times are volatile and there's a lot of disruption and a lot of uneasiness and fear and change, shifts in our societies and the way we think about ourselves as human beings and how we think about ourselves as, citizens of the planet. I'm optimistic. I think that the issues that are evident and on everybody's mind right now are very, very important issues, and that's why they're right here. Is they're coming due. They're coming to a place where we need to look at them and find new ways to understand history and understand our connections with each other and how we operate as a government and citizens. And, I think that we could do better.
Yeah. So lastly, considering that we are far from perfect, like you're saying, what are things that you hope to do, and what are some ways that you hope to achieve these goals? And do you believe that voting thoughtfully in this upcoming election ties into the whole climate movement?
I'm going to be involved in the election, so I want to stay connected about clean energy policy, particularly around the Green New Deal and what people's expectations of that are, and what are the if somebody looks at the entirety of the Green New Deal, what is the through line? What is the very low hanging fruit that ties it all together, and to focus on one aspect of that policy to start out with, and say, as a country, this is the foundation of what the Green New Deal is all about. Is it energy infrastructure, smart grid? Is it there's a lot of things that will get us moving towards a grid that is non-centralized. A lot of energy production everywhere, people's rooftops, counties doing solar projects, methane projects, whatever it is, whatever the community wants to develop, we should make it really easy for communities to do that and to make that shift. I think voting ties into the environment. This administration's made, the Trump administration has made it clear what their position is on clean energy and what their position is on oil and oil subsidies and all of that. They're one thing. And I think right now the Democrats have a chance to be the party of everyone else. And I think it has a chance to be a party that has room for more than one particular position. And I think you see what you get when you have a monarchy like Trump runs his administration. It's not as diverse of an ecosystem. Good ideas aren't filtering up in ways. He can be decisive because he's, that's his nature. But he's not getting a lot of new information. So I think that the opportunity is to believe that the other party is identifying and seeing that that's not the way to do it, and inhabiting the Democratic Party as much as we can to elevate it and make it smarter and better than what we're receiving right now.
Well, thank you so much, Stone, for taking the time to meet with us. Now that the conversation is over, it's time to get more involved with these issues and take long-term action. Here are some ways you can help today. Stone would like you to check out the Conservation International organization, where you can donate to protect our planet, and also make sure that you vote in this election and make sure you're calling your representatives around the time that the election's taking place. And yeah, thank you, Stone.
You're welcome. It's really, really nice to hang out with both of you.
Yeah, thank you so much.